Hello. So I just watched Andrew Tate's interview with the BBC, which the video I watched came out 10 hours ago from the time of this recording. I don't quite know what to think. I don't quite know what to feel about this, but I do have some thoughts. Or at least I just like to work through what I just saw, which was a really intense interview. I don't even know if you could call it an interview because I must preface this by saying I have never watched a full-length Andrew Tate video in my life. I've never heard him or a podcast. I've only seen like little clips pop up on YouTube here and there or on Instagram that I've watched just to be like, all right, what is this guy talking about? I know he's prominent. Let me hear what he has to say. And they've always just been like the most clickbaity sort of clips about him saying some drastically radical comment about like women or something like that. Like I saw one where he said like women should be on leashes or something. But from this interview, the interviewer brings up a lot of these comments that he's made over the years throughout his podcasts and Hustlers University and all that stuff. And the specific comments that she brought up, which one was I can't fucking remember. So there was something about, oh yeah, he was on an interview with some OnlyFans lady, and the OnlyFans lady said that her man's car should be hers too. And then it came up later in the conversation that she was on OnlyFans, and that she made money by selling pictures of her tits and shit like that. And so he said, oh, well, those tits are your man's too. And apparently everybody laughed from what Andrew said. I haven't gone and seen it myself, but this is what he said. Everybody laughed, and it was just a joke. So the interviewer lady took it out of context that it was just a joke, and that he also made that comment with the OnlyFans lady's comment from earlier, saying that because her man owned a car, it should also be hers because the man is hers. And so he was expressing that, okay, there's also that dual dichotomy that if you want him to be yours, then he also then you have to understand that you are also his. There's that dual relationship there. Can't just go one way. But the interviewer continuously took these out of context clips that he or phrases that he said and just said them on their own, which they sound horrible on their own. It's like, what the fuck? Damn, all right. But each time he said that they were out of context, that he, loves women, doesn't want to create this like situation of domineering over one sex over the other without any sort of dual relationship. That he loves women and appreciates them and wishes no harm to them. Which I mean, I like, yeah. But this made me think, watching this interview, that every single thing that the lady said, her name was Lucy from the BBC, every comment that she hit Andrew with was specifically chosen from a specific narrative to form this narrative, this all-encompassing thing to overtake him and make him look as bad as possible on camera. So the goal wasn't really to have a conversation and to interview him and to get a full scoop of how he was feeling and his thoughts on the world, on the things he said, on his beliefs. The goal of the interview was to phrase him in the most negative light possible. This made me think, like, yeah, this is the common plan of action that pretty much every mass media company takes nowadays, which is, since yellow journalism, we learned about that at least I did, in American history. We learned about yellow journalism, over sensationalized headlines, over sensationalized content, missing context, specifically curated to elicit specific emotional responses from the people that read the news. That's what the term was, yellow journalism. It strays away from factual, objective point of view reasoning to educate the viewer as objectively as possible, as nonpartisan as possible. I don't know what the proper term is there, but to basically just give them the full scoop and allow them to form their own emotional opinions out of the factual information presented by journalism. But this isn't what happened in this interview that I saw. This interview that I saw, like I said, seemed to me at least very obviously that it was specifically curated to just make Andrew look as horrible as possible. But he defended himself really well. Like I said, I haven't gone and looked at these specific clips myself, so maybe he says full length content that is specifically geared toward oppressing women, I guess you could say, by making content. I hate that fucking term now, because so many terms are just like, with them is carried this like nasty fucking, just who knows, I don't know, just this weird feeling. I'd like to figure out what the fuck that is, but because of everything that's happening today. But like I said, the comment that I saw him make was all women should wear leashes, and I'm like, no, women are people too. Men are people too. We're all people. There needs to be the understanding. When you form your relationship, it'll form, and let it be what it wants to be, with both people being their unique individuals. Let that collide and figure out its own path. You don't need to have this sort of like, women don't even have emotions. Women are your property sort of view of things. But he defended himself very thoroughly, said that everything was taken out of context. And so, like I said, this made me think of yellow journalism and how bad journalism is nowadays, and how compared, juxtaposing journalism, modern big media tech company journalism with small scale independent journalists too. There's a correlation between the two, which is yellow journalism. Yellow journalism is everywhere. And so this made me think, why is this everywhere? It's everywhere because media, the whole media sphere of things, is incredibly oversaturated. There's so much content out there. I'm fucking adding to this myself. Hopefully I can be a little bit different and provide something a little bit more real. But in general, just the whole media sphere is really, really oversaturated. And as a consequence of this, many people are fighting for people's attention. Because how do you make money through the media? You get people to watch or read your stuff, so you can make ad revenue off of them. The more people click your shit, the more ads they see, the more money you make. So if you make something that's incredibly eye-catching, that elicits incredibly profound emotional responses in people, then more people are going to look at what you are saying and read what you are writing. That's just how it works, because people are emotional creatures. And when you take advantage of that, people start losing the rationality. They start losing this sense of contentment with themselves and their own goals and their own ambitions, and they start becoming dependent, like it's a drug on media, on who's your favorite, media influencer, who's your favorite left TikToker or right TikToker, who's your favorite of them. It's like a fan base for like sports teams or specific MMA fighters or anything like that. People rally behind specific political influencers and things like that, and specific media companies, CNN and Fox News being the main, which side do you align with, sort of thing. But all of these things have in common this shared experience of yellow journalism, the mutual understanding that so long as we can make the most incredibly emotionally eliciting articles and news clips, newscast recordings, the more money we can make. And I don't know if that's a conscious thought that a lot of these people have, but it's what's happening. It's just through pure observation. That's what's happening. News media companies and independent journalists are creating emotionally profound articles and recordings and putting them out there. And it's racking up a lot of money for them, because they are further dividing people, further tribalizing them, and further destroying their rationality and making them more aligned with them. It's like fighting over customers so that they can make the most money. And I guess the observation or the feeling that I had regarding all of this was, what the fuck? What are you doing? We're all people in the world. Each and every one of us is a human. And you have the ability to live your own life, to be your own person, and to experience the reality, the life that you have been given by God, by random chaos, by the existentialists or the Buddhists, whatever. You have this life. It's yours. It's been given to you by one way or another. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to spend it worthwhile? And by worthwhile, I mean living your life according to your own desires, because it's your life. Or are you going to get swept up in this in these waves of incredible radicalization and tribalization, incredible objectivity destroying trains of thought? Are you going to just fucking lose yourself in the midst of all of this? Or you not? This is one thing that Andrew said in the interview that at least I thought was pretty solid. You know, I couldn't really disagree with it so much, which is, at least again, I haven't seen any of his full-length content, so I can't make like a full judge off of his character or for a full opinion on his character myself right here, because I haven't seen the stuff. But from what he said in the interview, at least, was that, you know, he's fighting for traditional religious beliefs. The belief that, you know, the man should provide for the family and the woman should take the man's last name, and then they should have a good family and raise children, and men should be stoic. The avoidance of drugs and alcohol. Well, I mean, you should ban the two of those together. Alcohol is a drug, you know, drugs. The avoidance of drugs being of utmost importance to him. That's something that he wants to talk about. That's something that he wants young men to understand and follow through with, which, like, all that stuff, I get behind. You know, men like to feel like they're providing. That's one of the things that make them feel a lot of meaning in life. They like to feel like they're doing something, like they're impacting the world in a positive way. And a big part of that is by raising a family. And then women, I mean, I can't speak so much for women because I'm not a woman, so I don't really understand it so much. You know, take however, you know, at least what Andrew said, but he's not a woman either. Who the fuck could give a good perspective on, like, what women traditionally want? I mean, I guess a lot of women online say that what they want is, you know, a providing man, that sort of thing, to be provided for and to raise and rear a family. It seems like a lot of people want to do that. So why shouldn't they? So anyways, Andrew was saying this stuff in the interview, and I felt like, damn, like, he's making a pretty good point, you know, about or maybe not even 10 years ago, these views that he's talking about were pretty normal. And if you disagreed with them, you were more on the radical side of things. But generally, these beliefs were believed to be normal. That's what everybody kind of followed through with. But there was some sort of cultural shift somewhere along the lines over the past 10 years about where those traditional religious beliefs were swept to the wayside. And were replaced by what? Like, again, I talked about this in my first video, which was, if you're going to try to destroy a system, you know, you have the full authority to do that. You know, by being born into this world, if you want to try to destroy a pre-existing system, you have the right to do that because you're living and you can act. You can make decisions and impact the world around you. So if you're going to do that, if you still want some sort of decent world or something like that, then you better have a replacement system for that. If you're going to destroy a pre-existing structure, then in order to prevent complete destruction of everything, you need to have some sort of alternative belief system that you implement. And we didn't really see that. There was the destruction of, like, traditional religious beliefs, which could, you know, even if you take religion out of it, you know, just like the man wanting to be like a man, you know, wanting to provide, wanting to be a good father and provide for his family and his wife, and then a wife wanting to be provided for and wanting to give her energy to her kids, and you know, that simple system. You could even take religious beliefs out of that. That's what a lot of people just generally did, but now that's gone away for the most part, and in fact, it's even being demonized. You see in the media people who believe this stuff. You know, they're considered like women who want to just be provided for, whatever, and just focus on raising kids and putting their energy towards that. They're being demonized, and people online are saying that that they have been red-pilled or what was the term? Just like washed over by the patriarchy. The patriarchy still controls this woman, but really, do they? Like, or do they just really want to do that? Do they just want to live their life that way? And if they do, is it that big of a fucking deal? Who the fuck are you to tell some other woman, as a woman, to tell some other woman that by believing that she wants to live a life where she's provided for, that she is controlled and she's not free and that decision is not hers to make? What? Who the fuck made you the arbiter of truth? Who the fuck made you the arbiter of goodness? And what's the best decision to make? I know. Who the fuck said you could do that? You know? Like, damn, man. Anytime you start, like, trying to become the arbiter of truth, you're a human too. You're avoiding that basic fact. You're a human, and you're prone to make mistakes, just as all humans do. Or all humans are prone to, is because we're emotional creatures. We rely on social connection to feel some sort of meaning, even just a little sprinkle of an addition to meaning. We rely on meaningfully impacting the world around us in a positive way to deal with the existential feeling of death. And oh God, I don't follow a religion, so if I die, who knows what's left for me? Maybe just blackness. Okay, so as a consequence of that, let me try to do some good in the world while I'm alive to deal with this fear of dying. You know? So anytime you start getting into a situation where individual people or groups of people especially, because that's when objective thought and rational thought are destroyed the most, is when people group up together, because people are no longer individuals. You can only think objectively and rationally as an individual. You can't think objectively or rationally when you're with a group. When you're with a group, it's because you've identified with and adopted their mentality, their belief systems. So now you cannot think objectively and rationally because you are tied to that. Your identity is tied to that. So when you have people deciding that they are going to act as the arbiters of truth, and a lot of these people, the one that I just described, talking about a woman wanting to be provided for as being still controlled by the patriarchy, that type of person belongs to a political group, a social group, on the left side of politics. And when you're dealing, like I just explained, when you're dealing with people trying to be the arbiters of truth, the arbiters of goodness, as people that belong to a group, you're going to run into some fucking issues. Because as I just explained, you can't be the arbiter of truth. You can't. How the fuck do you know what's truly good or bad for people? How the fuck do you know? You can use science to try your best to understand it. Okay, people need to feel social connection. People, when they are incredibly stressed out, they start to deteriorate mentally, and the likelihoods of them dying increase. And the likelihoods of depression and anxiety increase. So let's try to minimize stress. But okay, well now you're dealing with, is some stress good? Or is some stress, or what stress is bad and what stress is good? What stress do you need to feel and what stress do you not need to feel? But now we're dealing with a society that thinks all stress is bad. If you're feeling stressed because you're not going to school, that's probably what's causing it. Because you're not going to school and you just feel lost and you're confused and fuck it all. But what if you just started going to school? What if you said, all right, damn, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. I have no idea what it means to be an adult. Or do I want college, or do I want to just go work? But I don't even like the idea of working. Fuck work. Because I don't know what I want to do with myself. What's the best decision to make right there? The best decision to make is to be like, okay, shit. I still have a ton of time to figure out what the fuck I want to do with myself. So, might as well keep trying at school. I'm going to keep doing good work, and eventually I start figuring out who I am. So long as I'm doing work and I'm moving towards something and moving forward. Because as you grow and you change, growing and changing comes from moving forward in life and encountering new experiences, then learning to adapt to them. That's what growth means. That's what change means. So if you're feeling stressed, it might just be because you're complacent. And you need to get moving. That's good stress right there. But now you have a society that's talking about all stress as being bad. And that same side of the political spectrum is, as I talked about, losing my train of thought, is trying to be the arbiter of truth. The ones that belong to a group too, that can't even think objectively. So you're trying to be the arbiter of truth, but you can't even think objectively. So you can't even offer any decent ideas to people, or you could be completely emotionally misguided in what's good or bad for people, and yet you're saying you are the only one that can make decisions for other people? What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? That's ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. You can't fight for truth if you can't even think objectively, if you can't even stay calm and just chill out and just think about things. from an objective viewpoint and allow your own views to be crushed by your own new ideas that are coming in, rather from introspection and thinking, or through conversations with other people. And you're not allowing those new viewpoints to change the old ones because you're too scared to lose them. So yeah, you can't be the fucking arbiter of truth, especially when you're in a fucking group. So in my opinion, at least right now at this current stage of my life, the solution to this seems to be the solution to people being dragged away from yellow journalism too, and being further divided and further tribalized into groups, is chill the fuck out and understand that each and every one of us are individuals. My name is Simon. That's me. That's what I'm called. You know, you're you. You have your name. That's you. That's just it. That's how it is. I am me. You are you. I am in my body. This is my body. These are my hands, my fingers. This is my watch that's on my wrist. You know, this is my beard. This is my hat. This is my skin. You know, all of this shit's me. That's mine. Not yours. And the shit that you are, your skin, your hair, your eyes, your voice, your ability to smell, like that's yours, not mine. So why the fuck? Why the fuck? Especially when you could have lived through, like from my position, right? I'm talking to a camera. You can kind of like guess maybe some of the life experiences I've had based on the things that I'm talking about, but I have no idea who the fuck you are because we haven't talked. Like I haven't seen your face. I haven't seen your eyes. I haven't heard you speak. I can't begin to imagine what life experiences you've been through. And as I talked about in my first video again, the life experiences that you go through paired with your consciousness, in my opinion, is what makes you you. Your consciousness and your life experiences, how you reacted to them and how you will react to the ones that you encounter in your future life. That's you. I don't know. I can't even imagine them. It's like an infinity sign floating over the camera of like all these possible different types of people that there are out there that could potentially be listening to this. And so how the fuck can I even begin to imagine what the right decision is for you on how to live your life? I don't know. I can't know because there's too many people with too many experiences. If I looked to the edges of the earth, the flat earth edges of the earth, then I would never encounter somebody that's exactly like me. I'd encounter people that are pretty similar to me. You know, I've experienced, damn, like one of my best friends. Like, we relate on a lot of shit that's happened family matter-wise. And at the exact same time, almost, it's kind of unreal. Really good friend of mine. But there's a lot of things that separate us from each other. But a lot of things that make us different from each other. So yeah, I can't begin to guess who any of you fucking are. So how the fuck do I know what is exactly good for you? And so the point I'm trying to get to is, in this age of tribalism and yellow journalism and anger and frustration and people trying to take the throne of I know what's best for you and you must listen to me, in the age of this chaos, I'd say, at least, and again, it seems hypocritical because I'm sharing my opinion on what the solution to all of this is, but I think it's a pretty rational solution. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but is to allow you to be you and you to be me. So long as you don't try to take my freedom away to be me, and so long as I don't try to take away your freedom for you to be you. We should be able to do whatever we want on our own time, because that doesn't concern me. The only thing that concerns me is my life and the things within my realm of control. The things that I can make decisions about. I don't know if the beliefs you had are truly good or bad. We could have a discussion about that, and then maybe I could share, like, yeah, I think you're wrong here, or I think you're right here. And then we could have a discussion, but I could be completely wrong too. We're all guessing. We're all guessing in this game of life. There's not a single person that knows for certain what's going on. Like that's why I don't even like the term agnostic. I don't really know what I am. And that's why I kind of have whatever religious beliefs I have, which is I don't know. It's because I understand that you can't prove anything. Even atheists. Atheism is a fucking religion too. You can't say there's no God. What? You can't say there's no God. Are you kidding me? If anything, like this is something like my grandpa and I, he's a deacon in the Catholic faith. Or is it Christian? I don't know. I was raised Catholic or Christian, one of those. I don't fucking know. I always get the two mixed up because they were used like synonymously throughout my childhood, even though they should not have been. But so it's kind of merged. But anyway, my grandpa's a deacon. We have a ton of discussions about faith and religion all the time, debates. It's really fun. But one thing that he says that I really kind of like empathize with in a way that I'm like, all right, I kind of get where you're coming from, is you look at life, right? Like the fact that I'm feeling these things that I'm feeling and that I'm thinking that I'm a human being, the fact that like this microphone exists in all of its glorious technological capacity, and that I'm in a room and that like I can see colors and like they have texture and there's a painting right there and it's cool and it makes me feel things like that's pretty wild. And so the solution my grandpa would present to that situation is it's all so incredible, there must be a God. But so I kind of understand that. It's like, yeah, it is kind of incredible. So where I was going with that is atheists say there's no God. But if you look at everything around you, it's like, damn, man, you sure? How the fuck are you sure? You're telling me you're certain that there's no God in the same way that somebody else tells me, yes, I'm certain that there is a God. I would empathize with them a little more because, like, it seems like something had to have created this. Like, even then, you trace everything back to the Big Bang. And what came before that? Like, still, it's just so fucking unreally complicated and interesting and surreal and wild, this thing that is being alive in this reality that we all experience and share. It's unreal. So who the fuck is to know for certain what's good or bad, true or false? Who fucking really knows? Anytime somebody tells you for certain that they know, they're probably wrong. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're probably right in certain instances where you can see like objectively, like, all right, yeah, that's a good viewpoint. But when people say things with a certainty, you should allow that. You should sense that. Like, this is, okay, I must say, I'm sharing my opinion on something that I believe to just be inherently good as a human being, so take this with a grain of salt. But I believe that anytime somebody says something to you with certainty that something is either truly good or truly bad, and they get emotionally invested in it especially, something should go off in you, and you should be like, damn, I don't know, man. You don't have to say that. But you can think that. You should think that. You should question things. You should be skeptical. Because skepticism, especially today, it's more important today than I think it's ever been in human history. Skepticism is essential to our lives. Because we have people trying to destroy our individuality at every fucking turn. Anytime you open up your phone and you hop on social media, you're gonna have people trying to take away your individuality by telling you how to fucking think and how to fucking act. But how do they know? So skepticism is really important to that, because when you have people telling you that they know for certain what is good or bad, you think, oh shit, you're telling me you really, really know. You're saying this is definitely fucking true. Maybe it's not. You can't prove it to me. You can try to, and then, or even then, like if we're talking about like nuclear fission, which I really want to make a video on this, I'd love to, so I will. But if you're talking about nuclear fission, like when you're talking about the science of it, it seems really, really promising, really, really good. But even then, who knows? Maybe there's something we're missing out on that's like not good. You know, maybe like explosions and nuclear meltdowns. They are rare. They should not really happen in at least a free democratic world. They should not happen. They probably will never happen again. So long as proper regulations are followed, you know, but like it's something that's so good, clean energy, that's so good, nuclear fission, just so objectively good. Like there's still something you could be missing out on. So when people talk to you with a certainty, just be weary of it. Be weary of it. Think, damn, man, like you just presented me an idea. You might be right. You might be right. But I don't need to tie myself down to this like ego fest of, yeah, this is definitely fucking right, where I start to get my identity attached to an idea. Like, what is that, man? What is that? When you get your identity attached to an idea or a philosophy or whatever, God, you start like missing out on what it is to be you. Because like I said before, a lot of what I'm thinking and feeling goes back to this, which is you are a mix of individual life experiences that nobody else has experienced to the T, similarly. Everybody has different variations of life experiences, and you have your own individual sense of feeling and thinking and seeing and touching and tasting and smelling and hearing. That's all you. You are your own individual person. And so when you look at things like that, you're going to continue to encounter life decisions or life experiences that are different from other people's. And when you cut out the bullshit of other people telling you what to think and telling you what's good, telling you what's bad and what's right and wrong and what to feel and what not to feel, when you cut that shit the fuck out, then you're left with just you. And it may sound terrifying, but my God, is it just freeing in the most profound respects. You can watch somebody that's getting incredibly worked up and angry about something that you used to get incredibly worked up and angry about when you were younger. And you can just think like, damn, that used to be me. But now look at me. I don't know. I don't know many things. I can act on my best impulses, on the best intentions of me. But I'm not tied to that. I can make one decision one day that I believe to be right that day, and then realize that, it seems most likely to be wrong the next day. And so I'm just going to change. When you cut out the identity politics, the identity philosophy, the identity life decisions, the identity who's my favorite fan, who do I identify with the most, who is the most similar to me. When you cut that shit out, you start to create your own life, your own views for things. And to me, that's the magic spice of life. To me, again, that's my opinion, but it's what I've experienced, and it's fucking magic. Does well for me. I don't need a God to feel all right. That's my God, I guess, is this own desire I have to just live as me and to just be me throughout life. I guess you could call that my religion, if that makes you understand what I'm trying to say better. But, fuck. I mean, yeah, that's it. I think that's the cure to yellow journalism. The shit that I just saw in the BBC interview with Andrew Tate and that BBC journalist Lucy, just yellow journalism, a lot of narrative building, a lot of trying to put the other person in a corner. Like, what happened to just like genuinely questioning people and like hearing what they had to say and taking it like, damn, that's interesting. Like Andrew, I have to admit, I don't really agree with you when you're talking about traditional views, but it's just because, I don't really align with traditional views as much. Like, I think that they are damaging to individual people's freedom. I think that men should be equal to women and women should be equal to men, and they should act the same with in every respect, because I believe that's what's best for people. But I really think it's interesting what you say. Could you explain a bit more? And then you say, yeah, Lucy, like I kind of get where you're coming from too. But what I'm thinking is like men, over the years of evolution or programmed progression by God, whatever, over these years, people have grown to, men and women have grown to have their own individual characteristics. Men are typically, through the release of testosterone, typically more aggressive, more territorial, more stronger, fit, more endurance, and they want to protect things and care for things and fight and die for things. And women, on the other hand, like to be taken care of. They like to be provided for. It's like a competition. Who can provide for me the best? I want to find that connection, and I want to raise children, and I want to give them my life because I love my children. And that's how men and women typically developed. And then Lucy would say, damn, like maybe you're right. Like I kind of see where you're coming from, but still, I think in general, in today's society at least, it's better if there is more of an equality standing to it. But I like what you're saying. I think you might be onto something in the same way I hope you think I'm onto something. And then Andrew says, Lucy, I gotta say, I kind of see where you're coming from. I really, really do. But I believe that these views are what's best for people. I think it makes them most mentally healthy. And then Lucy says, I think you're probably right. But or maybe not, or maybe you're probably wrong, but I do find it really interesting. Thank you for the conversation. Like that, like what the fuck happened to shit like that? Conversations like that. Like, that's so much more productive than everything that's happening online. That literally everything that's happening online. It's way more productive because everybody that watches it, like I'm sure you've seen YouTube videos or TV shows or anything, just seen some sort of media that has made you be like, where it ends, right? You watch the whole thing, the whole 20, 30 minutes of it or whatever, and it gets to the end and then ends and the little replay button pops up and you're sitting there and you're like, damn, that was just nice, you know? That was just refreshing. Like, I'm glad I watched that. And then you go about your day being a lot more peaceful, a lot more content, a lot more happy, a lot more joyful, a lot more like, damn, like maybe people aren't that bad. And then you start doing better things. You're more productive in your personal life, doing the things that you want to do. Like the book that I'm writing. The only reason I started writing it is because I started reading more and I started becoming more like, oh, God, I just miss being me. I miss being free. I'm experiencing this wonderful day and like, God, I just got to fucking start my book. Like that's where progress comes from, is from people being themselves, being healthily and fully and contentedly themselves. That's where progress comes from. If you want progress, create healthy people and let people healthily be themselves. I guess is the general point to that. So yeah, let's bring back people being fucking chill. Let's get rid of this tribalism. Let's stop. Let's grow up, mature, and take all of the sins of the past or whatever sins of the government today we're worried about and put them on our shoulders together and fix them. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Each and every one of us just taking on the sins of this day and age and the days and ages before us, taking those sins on and carrying them so that our children don't have to, so that the world tomorrow doesn't have to. That's how you create a better world. And then understanding that we couldn't have gotten this far without objectivity and rationality and truth. And so we teach that in the schools. We teach, listen, here's how you think about things. Here's how history played out. But this is not you today. This is what people did in the past. And here's why we think they're wrong. And you could tell us why you think they're wrong, or maybe even that why they were right. And we could talk about this. And you can learn objective fucking thought, because that is what allows you to be you. And when you are you, that's when real progress happens. That's when life chills out. That's when people start just doing themselves and coming together cohesively when it's beneficial, but then staying on their own lanes when it's beneficial to the individual. Like, God, it's so simple, but it requires people to pull their fucking pants up and stop whining and being bitches. So yeah, you get to make that own decision too. Again, these are all of my opinions shared in a random flutter of thought. Like I literally just finished the interview and hopped on and just spewed all of this. So take it with a grain of salt. But again, I'm pretty sure everything I've said has been pretty much to the T of the things that I've been feeling and wanted to say. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Think about whatever I said on your own terms. And I hope it was helpful in some way or another for you to hear. And yeah, goodbye.